The small roadside diner was quiet that evening, the kind of place where travelers stopped for coffee and locals came for routine meals. A soft neon sign buzzed faintly above the door, and inside, the hum of the old jukebox filled the air. A woman sat alone in the corner booth, wearing a simple gray hoodie and faded jeans. To most, she looked like just another weary traveler, nothing special, nothing threatening. Her hair was tied back in a loose bun, and her gaze remained lowered to the steaming cup of tea before her. She seemed invisible to the world, like a shadow that drifted by unnoticed. But life was about to prove how dangerous it could be to judge by appearances. Outside, the rumble of engines broke the calm night. 5 motorcycles screeched into the gravel parking lot, headlights glaring like predator eyes. The ground shook slightly as the men dismounted one by one, their heavy boots crunching the stones. They were loud, rough, and brimming with arrogance, the type of bikers who thrived on intimidation. Tattoos covered their arms, leather jackets bore patches of defiance, and their laughter carried the sharpness of blades. Everyone inside the diner stiffened when they walked in, the bell above the door rattling in protest. The leader, a tall man with a jagged scar running across his cheek, scanned the room like a wolf searching for prey. His eyes settled on the woman in the hoodie, sitting alone with her tea. A crooked grin spread across his face. Well, what do we have here? A little rabbit sitting all by herself. His voice carried through the diner, silencing the chatter of the other customers. The woman didn't look up. She stirred her tea slowly, as though his words had never reached her ears. The other bikers chuckled, already sensing an opportunity for mischief. They swaggered over, their boots echoing on the tiled floor, forming a half circle around her booth. One leaned over the table, purposely blocking the light, his breath smelling of whiskey. "Hey, sweetheart, didn't you hear our boss? We're talking to you." For the first time, the woman raised her eyes. They were calm, steady, but not frightened. Her lips curved slightly, not in a smile, but in something more dangerous: patience. She looked at each of them one by one, as though measuring their worth. Then, without a word, she returned her gaze to her tea. The leader slammed his fist on the table, rattling the cup. "Don't ignore me, girl. We asked you a question. You don't sit quiet when the iron fangs speak." The rest of the diner watched in tense silence. No one dared intervene. They had seen scenes like this before, men with power, strength in numbers, feeding off fear. But what they didn't know was that this time, the prey was not prey at all. The woman finally sighed, setting her cup down gently. Her voice, when she spoke, was soft but clear, every word slicing through the heavy air. "You don't want to do this." Her calmness provoked laughter from the bikers. One slapped the back of another, nearly doubled over with amusement. "Oh, she's warning us now," another mocked. The leader bent closer, his scarred face just inches from hers. "Lady, you don't know who we are. You don't get to tell us what we want or don't want." Her eyes dropped, but not in submission. Slowly, deliberately, she pulled back her sleeve. For the first time, the ink on her skin caught the light. It wasn't a simple tattoo. It wasn't something that screamed rebellion or fashion. It was a symbol, sharp, intricate lines woven into a pattern that only a certain kind of people in the world would understand. A mark of training, a mark of survival, a mark of blood. The leader froze mid-laugh. His grin faltered, and his eyes narrowed at the sight of the ink. Recognition flashed in his gaze, though he tried to hide it. One of his men noticed his hesitation. "Boss, what's wrong? It's just a tattoo." But the leader knew better. That mark wasn't just ink. It belonged to a group whispered about in the darkest corners of bars and among fighters who had seen things no man should. It was the symbol of a unit, a forgotten program. Warriors who had walked into wars and walked out alone undefeated. The woman's gaze met his, calm and unyielding. "Last chance," she said softly, her voice carrying more weight than a shout ever could. "Walk away." The diner was suffocatingly silent. The tension tightened like a coiled spring. The bikers exchanged confused looks, not understanding the sudden shift in their leader's demeanor. He clenched his jaw, torn between pride and the instinct to survive. His pride won. "Get her," he snapped. The next 60 seconds would silence the entire diner and rewrite the story of who this simple woman truly was. The first biker lunged forward, grabbing her arm. But in the same instant, her body shifted with fluid precision. She twisted his wrist with such force that a sickening crack echoed through the diner, followed by his scream as he dropped to the ground, clutching his shattered limb. Before the others could react, she was already moving, rising from her seat with terrifying grace. The second biker swung a fist toward her face. She ducked, spinning low, and her leg lashed out like a whip. The crack of her kick against his ribs sent him crashing into the table behind, shattering plates and cups as he gasped for air. Gasps filled the diner. No one had even seen her move until the damage was already done. The third came with a chair, lifting it high. Her eyes flickered once, and in one fluid motion she stepped forward, drove her palm into his chest, and sent him flying backward so hard that the chair slipped from his hands and clattered uselessly. He hit the ground, unconscious before he could even groan. The leader's face drained of color. He finally understood that her tattoo was not decoration. It was a warning. She wasn't just trained, she was lethal. Still, two of his men remained, both rushing her at once. She sidestepped the first, grabbed his leather jacket, and used his momentum to flip him over her shoulder, slamming him flat onto the floor. His helmet rolled away, clattering loudly. The fifth tried to grapple her from behind, but she reached up, seized his arm, and spun, snapping his elbow in a motion so fast the crowd gasped in horror. Silence. It had taken less than a minute. 60 seconds of fury, precision, and control. The woman stood in the center of the chaos, untouched, breathing calmly as though nothing had happened. Around her, 5 men lay broken, moaning, or unconscious. The leader, trembling, backed away slowly, his scarred face pale in disbelief. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. The woman pulled her sleeve back down, covering the ink again, as though erasing the truth she had just revealed. She picked up her cup of tea, now cold, and drank it in silence. The diner remained frozen, no one daring to move. For them, this night would never be forgotten. For her, it was just another warning delivered, another reminder that monsters should be careful whom they choose to hunt. And as the leader stumbled out the door, dragging his broken men with him, the woman's voice followed softly, cold as steel. "I told you to walk away.